Good morning, Jaw. Would you like to say hello to everyone to start the day? All right. Hello. Well, good morning, Lionhearts. It's your old pal, Jordan the Lion. How are all of you doing today? Well, okay. That was kind of a mixed response, but, well, today I'm going to try and make it a little bit better. Today's kind of a novelty day, and I thought what better vlog to do today than something on Cheech Chong. I mean, I saw these guys in movies probably from like the time I was 5 or 6. Didn't know what it was that they were using as this prop that was, they kept smoking through the whole movie, but I just loved the humor. I thought they were so funny. And today we're gonna go out. I've already vlogged once before Strawberry, Cousin Strawberry's house. So I'll put that link in this video as well so you can go over and see that if you want. But today I wanna see 3 of the main locations from their very first movie, Cheech Chong's movie that they made with Lou Adler, Up in Smoke. Amy's coming over. She's going to be part of this video, and we're actually going to make 2 videos today, so you'll see the other one on Wednesday. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. And a few years ago, I got to go meet Tommy Chong one-on-one. What was he like? One of the coolest people I ever got to meet as a celebrity. He was really cool. In fact, when I told him that I had been watching the movie since I was a kid, the first thing he said is, I gotta know something. He goes, did you get the humor even though you didn't know what marijuana was? And I said, yeah, because I got the physical humor. And he got a big smile. He goes, that makes my day. So that tells you right there, he was in it for the comedy. Now let's go see some of these sights. And yes, that is his signature on that record. In the movie, he's not known as Chong, and Cheech is not known as Cheech. Cheech is Pedro, and Chong is known as Man. Good to see you, Amy. So the last time you were here, you told me, you said, if you ever want to get me something that I really, really want, it's a back scratcher. So yeah. I got you a $5 back scratcher.
For real.
Use it in good health.
I'm serious.
The back scratcher I got Amy is actually a bear claw. Alright, so we're heading over to Venice, and we're actually going to a neighborhood I used to know pretty well. My friend John Juan used to live in this neighborhood. Now, one thing about the Cheech Chong movie is that Lou Adler said he really liked how much of LA they show throughout the movie. You really get a feel for the city because they're all over the place for different locations. So this house, this beautiful house in the movie, was supposed to make you think that they were in Boyle Heights, but they're actually here in Venice. And this Victorian looking house was where Pedro lives in the movie. When we first see it, he comes walking out of the front door, and his uncle or someone is cutting a kid's hair sitting on a toilet right there. So Pedro comes out here, and we see him walking towards us. He and his uncle start talking, and then we have a turnaround shot right here. And at the time, there was a house here. And we see Pedro walking out, and he's cleaning off the Love Machine car that he has. He's like wiping it all down, that old 1964 car. There was a house behind it, and I was wondering, because later on in the movie, you see him parked here, and he does like a U-turn right here, and the house is gone. But what I found out was that that house was what they had used it for, basically like their catering. And so when they were filming the movie, everybody would go in there and eat for craft services. But they said that some of the neighborhood people had gotten line, and one of the production assistant people told them they couldn't eat the food. So they started throwing rocks through the house, breaking the windows, and like finally Cheech had to come out and say, hey, you're disrespecting the neighborhood if you don't let him eat. Just let him eat the food and they'll be cool to us. So when that's basically the story of the house. But they said when they came back here and did that shot where his car is making the U-turn and turning around, the house is completely gone. They said when they came back to film that, they had demolished the house. So that's really what happened, is that the house literally was gone when they came back. Now we see this again in the movie when it's time for Pedro's family to go to the wedding, and well, basically Pedro and Man, which is Tommy Chong, they have formed a band and they're meeting here, and in the backyard, that's where they're out there smoking and everything, and they've gotten weed from Curtis. So everybody in the band is all sitting inside the house high except for Chong, and then they notice that people are looking in through the windows and they think it's a drug bust, but it's actually, as Cheech says, or Pedro, he says, it's La Migra. He goes, yeah, my cousin's getting married. So he calls La Migra on himself to get the entire wedding party taken down to Tijuana for free. He goes, it's a pretty good deal. They even give him lunch. So right here you would have seen the bus parked right here, picking them all up. And man, Chong is actually worried that they're gonna get taken too, and Cheech says, oh no, don't worry, they're not gonna take us. And the next scene you see is that they've been mixed up in this and they are now in Tijuana. So we're actually gonna go to the place where they used for Tijuana, the upholstery shop in Tijuana. But Lou Adler said they picked it. He said they originally had a different house, but then they canceled that and they had seen this, and he said it reminded him of Boyle Heights where he grew up, so that's what they went with, this house. So we're heading off into Santa Monica for the next location. Cool mural on the side of that apartment building. This is right across the street from the Three's Company house. So right here, this is Tijuana. They actually did film a scene in Tijuana. They spent like a whole day there filming, and it was where Pedro is on the payphone. They couldn't get the payphone to stick to the wall, so he's actually leaning against the wall, and he calls his Uncle Chewy, tells him that they've been deported to Tijuana. So Uncle Chewy tells him to go pick up a van that he has sent down here, because what Uncle Chewy does is he has an upholstery shop in Beverly Hills. He sends his work to be done down to Mexico at Tijuana because he says they'll do the work cheaper. So they come here, they're eating the burritos as they walk around that corner where Amy just walked, and Chong is eating his burrito. He enjoys it, but Cheech hates his, and he goes, man, how can you enjoy this stuff? This is like, they might make these out of dogs or something. And Chong goes, oh, I love it. And Cheech throws his on the ground while Chong goes, oh, I would have ate that. But he pulls out a piece of paper and it has some food smeared all over it, and that's when he looks at the address and he gets the address wrong. He actually thinks he's looking for 1817, which is this gray door, and he goes in there, and that's where, instead of getting the van that he's supposed to have that's being reupholstered, that's the van that Stadenko is telling his crew about, that they have turned into basically fiberglass weed. Fiber weed is what they call it, and they've made a full van worth $9 million out of this weed. So they end up going in here, getting the wrong van, and that's what basically makes the whole movie happen, where they're driving and bits and pieces of this van are catching on fire and smoking along the freeway, or various times. It all kind of happens right here, what we think is Tijuana, but it's actually just a little commerce park here. All right, Amy, now we're gonna go to where they had the rock fight.
Yes.
So our next location, the rock fight, is actually a place that Lou Adler owned and still does. Cruising down Sunset Boulevard. All right, we have made it to the Roxy. This is where they have the Battle of the Bands, the Battle of the Century, the rock fight, Jade East. So when they filmed this movie, this was just an absolute genius move. Use Lou Adler's club, because if he owns it, they can film any time of the day with no restrictions. So in the movie, we see all the potential bands sitting up here with all their gear and everything. There's the side entrance door, and look, they even have Cheech and Chong stuff for the anniversary, and a mural to Lemmy. But check this out, this is an Up in Smoke mural, Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead. So in the movie, the van, before this outdoor eating section was here, the van was actually parked, wedged outward right here, and we see Pedro, Cheech, sitting on the back of it, and Chong is inside the van with the two girls. This is the van made of marijuana. So the girl inside starts telling Chong a story even though he's basically asleep in the van, and she starts recounting this story of someone having sex, and she starts doing all the moaning, and he wakes up in the middle of it and has a leg cramp. So he starts yelling about the leg cramp, and next thing you know, the whole van is just like rocking back and forth, and Cheech is sitting on the back of it like laughing. And finally the doors pop open, Chong comes out, says he's got the leg cramp, stands up and everything, and Cheech is like, "Man, Dynamo!" And they come walking into the side entrance. That's the way that Cheech ends up walking Chong in, and they go to the backstage area. Now what's interesting about this is that even though they filmed the concert scenes inside the Roxy here, the backstage area was actually filmed over at the Whiskey A Go-Go, where the offices now are, because the backstage area here wasn't big enough. So they go inside the side door, and eventually Cheech starts writing their hit song that they're gonna perform here. Now, if you know the LA rock scene or the club scene, you'll notice who's introducing the band up on stage when they come out. It's Rodney Bingenheimer, Rodney on the Rock. So the girl that Chong is hanging out with throughout the movie ends up giving him, well, she thinks they're uppers, but they're downers. So he ends up just becoming totally lethargic and basically almost passing out before they even play. So we get a shot of him sitting out here, just about passed out. You can actually see that hole, the spouting. He's actually sitting right here. She helps him up, starts walking, and then drops him over here. She gets discombobulated, sees another guy sitting on the sidewalk right here, basically passed out, and she starts helping him and walks away, leaving Chong sitting right here. Now, here's the doorway that we see the Stadenko and his crew end up trying to come and get in, because we see their car pull up right across the street, and it parks right there, right behind the laundry truck that we see earlier in the movie that's in front of Strawberry's house, basically, you know, watching Strawberry's every moves. So they borrow the clothing from the Hare Krishnas, put it on, and come over here and try and get in without tickets, acting like they're Hare Krishnas. So this is where they get turned away by the two security guard guys, and the van is actually been moved because it was around the side where I first showed you, but then we see the van is getting towed away because of where it's parked. They bring the van out from this exit right here, and they drive it out here, and then they park it right directly in front of the Roxy, right there. So we see the back bumper of the van is smoking, and the police officers, Stadenko and his crew, dressed up like Hare Krishnas, are now starting to inhale the fumes, and they're starting to get high. Now there's also two businessmen that come walking up here, and they notice the van, and that's their van. So they've basically given away who they are, and they're about to get arrested. Stadenko puts them in handcuffs and sets them on the seat, or on the steps of the van right here. But then because he gets so high, one of his guys goes out and gets pizza, brings the pizza back, and they start having a stoner eating party with the pizza. So while they're standing right here where we're at, sorry it's so shaded, but they're right here devouring all that pizza, and the two guys that are sitting on the steps of the weed van just say, "Hey, let's go get something to eat, I'm hungry," and they just get up and walk away. Now this is a really famous scene because when they start playing, the band is horrible. They're absolutely horrible, but because the van is smoking out front, the back of it has caught on fire. It's smoking. The fumes start going into the club, and everybody that's watching Jade East, which is the band these two are in, starts loving the band. And even though Cheech looks like a total freak up there with like a mask and a pink tutu, everybody's into it and they end up winning this whole thing. So I actually made a full video on Strawberry's house. If you want to see that, I'll put a link right here that'll pop up on your phone. And I didn't do the roadside stops today. I just wanted to stick to places that were very instrumental in the movie. And it's also extremely fitting they would film at the Roxy because it was Lou Adler's club that he owned, and he could, you know, like I said, let them film as often as they want, but he also was who basically discovered them when the Roxy first opened their first year. Cheech and Chong were some of the first people that he booked. He produced 3 of their albums up to this point, was producing the movie. Very, very fitting. Lou Adler was there from the very, very beginning of it all. And we were just there. That's the scene in Tijuana when they're picking up the wrong van. All right, that's gonna do it for us for today, at least for the filming locations. Let's head out of here. It's in a new spot, but they put Bullwinkle back up. All right, my friends, I hope you all enjoyed that vlog. Those are really cool places for me to see. I love that movie. I hope you do too. Have a great night. We'll see you all next time. Goodbye.